The Austrians voted in a Green Party extremist. Or did they? On Monday, it was announced that Alexander Van der Bellen, a far-left Green Party candidate, had won the race for president in Austria. Van der Bellen had won by a mere 31,000 of the 4.64 million votes, a margin of just 0.6%. His opponent, Norbert Hofer, was feared by the leftists in Austria for his anti-immigration policies and for the fact that he often carries a pistol for protection, something that is downright abhorrent in Austria. So why are so many people on the right in Austria, including Hofer himself, calling the vote rigged? First, there were 700,000 votes cast in the postal ballot, which was a record in Austria, and that appears to be what swung the vote in favor of Van der Bellen. Postal votes, as we've seen in the UK, are prone to fraud. There isn't really a very good way to make sure those votes don't get tampered with while in transit between the voter and the ballot box. Second, it was reported that there was a voter turnout of 146.9% in Linz and Waidhofen. Those numbers have now been rescinded and blamed on a data entry error. It isn't too hard to believe that the Austrian elite could have rigged the vote in favor of Van der Bellen. Their political and social landscape looks a lot like ours. The Austrian political landscape, like ours, has become more polarized, meaning that people are moving farther towards the left or the right. Austria's two moderate parties, the Social Democrats and the People's Party, have dominated politics since the Second World War, but have now been forced to third and fourth place as people move farther away from the center. The working class in Austria was split very similarly towards Hofer as they are here for Trump. 86% of the Austrian working class favors the far-right candidate. The social and political elite, however, favored Van der Bellen, so are you surprised he was the one who won? It's just another case of politicians in the political machine ignoring the voters. Before we go on to talk about the effect this election will have on Austrian and international politics, let me quickly explain what the Austrian political system looks like. Austria is a federal parliamentary representative democratic republic. They have a federal chancellor, Christian Kern, who is head of government, and a federal president, that will be Van der Bellen, who is head of state. The office of federal president is largely ceremonial, like the Queen in England, though the president is allowed to dismiss members of the cabinet. It is also his job to swear in the chancellor. This will be important later. Now let me give you a little picture of what Van der Bellen is like. Alexander Van der Bellen is a 72-year-old member of the Austrian Green Party and a supporter of green and social liberal policies. The same Austrian Green Party who said, and I'll say this in German first so you really know it's true, Wer Österreich liebt muss scheiße sein, meaning anyone who loves Austria must be shit. A common theme among leaders of European countries, like Angela Merkel, who opposes any German patriotism, because they truly believe that any form of patriotism or national pride is dangerous. Anyway, Van der Bellen is pro-EU and advocates for European federalism, or creating one central government for all of Europe. Van der Bellen is a divorced father of two in a generally conservative Catholic country, so he's definitely a liberal. He is also an outspoken supporter of gay marriage. Though Van der Bellen won't have too much control over the Austrian government, he will have one big card to play. Since the president is in charge of swearing in the chancellor, the president gets a little sway in that election. Though it is still a democratic election, Van der Bellen has sworn that he will not swear in Heinz Christian Strache, the far-right Freedom Party's chairman, who is currently ahead in the polls for the election in 2018. Van der Bellen said, I don't want Austria to become the first country in Western Europe led by a populist, right-wing, pan-Germanic fraternity member. Van der Bellen has also said that, as president, he will champion the idea of a border-free United States of Europe. Austria has already taken in approximately 100,000 refugees in the past year, and Van der Bellen promises he will push to take even more in his 6 years of presidency. But what's the takeaway here? The U.S. isn't the only country who is being pushed to the extremes politically. We live in volatile times, and our political discourse isn't so polite anymore. As time continues to pass, I think we'll see people continue to move toward the political polls, and the divide between the classes will continue to widen. Just like in the US, people in Austria were looking for different qualities in the candidates than they have in the past. Instead of looking for politically experienced candidates, aka lifelong politicians, they're looking for sincere people who can relate to the population at large. That's why these third-party candidates are doing so well. Our two-party system makes it much harder for a third party to even get on the ballot here, but I think we're seeing more movement towards Austin Peterson and Gary Johnson of the Libertarian Party. It's hard to say exactly what effect Van de Bellen will have on the international political landscape, but I think this is just the beginning of the continued liberalization of the Western world. I do not believe that we will be able to elect a conservative candidate either in the United States or anywhere in the EU, and I do not believe that those on the political right will be able to gain any power without an uprising by the people. I especially believe this to be true in Europe, where the political left has already gotten so much control that, without an uprising, there is no hope for European nationalism or integrity. Have an opinion? Is anybody still watching? Hey guys, come back. They're still watching. New details have emerged in this story, and since we're all about the facts here, I'm here to give you the breaking news regarding the Austrian election. Austrian officials have now asked for a probe into the case of the mysterious mail-in ballots. As I mentioned earlier, the drama all circulates around the mysterious 146.9%. It turns out that in the town of Waidhofen, a total of 13,262 ballots were cast. 12,559 of those ballots have been regarded as valid. 11,571 people live in Waidhofen. The Interior Ministry is standing by their claim that it was a typo, but they have yet to rectify the change on their website and say they probably won't change it until next week, after they have conducted a meeting with the Election Authority of Austria to account for any discrepancies and ensure the final result is accurate. The chairman of the Electoral Department of the Interior says that the result will be changed to reflect the actual vote, but it's not expected to change the outcome of the race. So we'll have to see what happens after their little meeting, but I doubt much will change. This is just the government's way of covering their ass after they've done something wrong. We'll look into it is just a platitude so they can sweep the entire incident under the rug. If you want to get updates on this story or any of the stories I talk about, be sure to follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to my channel to join the skeptical family where we put facts and reason before feelings and emotion. Thanks for watching.